That's all we needed.
Are we live?
That's all we wanted to do.
This is how we start. We like to start where people don't know we started.
Yeah.
Wait, are we doing this? Yeah, man.
I like that, though.
Jordan Colle, welcome to the Mizalines podcast,
Thank you.
brother. Thanks
Appreciate
for being
it.
here, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
I think besides for Shadow, who's here all the time, I think you're our first, musician.
Legit
Music artist guest.
Yeah, artist.
Nice.
Yeah, I like that. Sounds right.
I like that's exciting.
And so we're wanting to talk to more
Yeah.
Christian artists. I think this is a really important area. Your vocation, something I personally totally ignorant on.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't wait to hear your story and kind of learn a little bit about what it's like. What are your challenges? How'd you get into it? Just kind of all this. So man, start with tell us, how did you get into singing Christian music?
Yes.
In front of crowds like this. How does this happen?
Well, it happens because my grandfather was a worship pastor as well. So it's kind of in the blood, in the family.
Cool.
My grandfather was I guess they called it a music minister back then.
Okay, where was this?
This was in like Texas, Oklahoma.
Okay.
And then the last church he was at was a church in Florida. So I grew up in Florida. And so my parents were both heavily involved with church. We came from like the Calvary Chapel world.
Yeah.
Which is like, started out in Southern California, that whole like hippie movement
I
back in the day.
love
so rad.
Calvary Chapels.
Yeah.
I went to one for 3 years when we lived in Okinawa.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Great. It's a great model for how to do church.
Yeah. And it's also just like I'm like, we don't attend one now, but like, because where we live, I don't think there is one, but I'm really grateful. It was very just like, here's the Bible,
That's right.
It's verse by verse, I think it's foundationally just was really impactful as I look back on it, you know what I mean? But yeah, so we were part of that in Tallahassee, Florida, where I grew up, which is, I always tell people it's not the Florida you think of. It's more South Georgia than it is Florida, But so we grew up there, and my parents were involved with the worship ministry. They weren't like ever on staff or anything, but, sang on the worship team and stuff.
So you were kind of singing in church.
Yeah, and so my brother also did too. So
Okay.
my older brother. So it was kind of like in the house all the time. Obviously, when we went to my grandparents' house, he's like playing on the piano, hymns, and doing different stuff. And so it was kind of just like either like me at that point. We're going to church 3 times a week. You know what I mean? It's like one of those situations, and between like youth and Wednesday night and Sunday morning, and I first got into it from playing drums, and so I started playing drums in the youth band, and then I kind of moved into the main worship team. Yeah, got the upgrade.
Playing drums is the gateway.
Yeah, it's the gateway drug of worship leading. So I did drums for a long time, and loved it, and thought that's really what I was gonna maybe do. I also played baseball in high school, and but I broke my elbow in high school playing baseball. And
pitching?
For pitching probably was the issue, but I broke it.
That's what that gnarly...
Yeah, I got this like gnarly...
right?
Yeah, my elbow looks like a bionic arm in a weird way, but it doesn't function like a bionic arm. I wish it did. But yeah, so that kind of baseball ending kind of put me in a corner of like, okay, what am I going to do? What's the other thing that I can do that I'm maybe good at, kind of? And school was not it. So I was like, a little bit of panic time, and ended up kind of going to this like music ministry at Calvary Chapel down in South Florida, which is basically like, I want to be in ministry. Here's 2 years of like us training you to like do that, whether you're a worship leader or... It was very music focused, but it was kind of just like a training ground for young, like 18-year-olds,
Was it for people, is it just music? Or
this
people that want
program,
to be pastors?
So like, I think they did something for people that wanted to do, but we did all sorts of classes. Like we would do, Bible classes, apologetics classes, but then
what was the name of this place?
It was called Ocean's Edge.
Okay. All right.
Which Brandon also went to, which is a little bit of how our story gets connected.
Oh, okay. Brandon Samuel.
Brandon Lake.
Oh, Brandon Lake.
Brandon Lake, yeah.
Yeah. Who's Brandon Samuel?
Pastor.
He's our pastor.
Oh, Brad, that Brandon.
I'm just
okay.
guessing the wrong Brandon.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, yeah. Yeah, so that's how a little bit how me and Brandon Lake got connected. But
so he went to this.
he went to the same school.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, and that's kind of I went there as a drummer and left as a worship leader, which is kind of an interesting story. It was very pivotal. I mean, it's basically like
because they must have heard you sing.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of one of those like weird situations. I was kind of in a room like that room over there, playing my guitar, singing, and like a teacher walked by and was like, "Who is that in there?"
That's our drummer.
Yeah, it was like wait,
why
you're
is
the
he
drummer.
No, he's not.
And they're like, I don't think you should play drums anymore. And I was like, really? And so that kind of started the journey of like,
cool.
I think a part of me was trying to avoid it in some sense. I think I just was like afraid of what could happen? Afraid of the calling a little bit.
I totally get that.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So I think it kind of put me in a little bit of like, I don't know if I want to do this. You know, I was like, drums is a little bit easier.
It's comfort, right?
But obviously the Lord had other plans, and Isaiah 61:1 was the verse that kind of stuck with me. Which is like, the Spirit of the Lord God's upon you. He's called you to preach the good news and open the eyes of the blind, do all that. And it's like just this list of things, and it was just like, yeah, I think this is it. You know, even though I was kind of dreading it for a little while, and but yeah.
I think there's this theme here with a lot of men where you can there comes a moment where you kind of see where a certain path, if you chose it, could potentially lead to something enormous.
Yeah,
something almost scary big.
Well, you also grow up with people being like, because that was maybe the first time they heard me sing, but like, I grew up, people in the church, my family, people that go to the church, like, you have such a gift, you have such a, anointing on your life to do this and this. Like, I see you doing this. I see you leading worship in front of all these people, and you're just like, it just starts to become a little bit of white noise to an extent, but also you're like, if this doesn't happen and all these things you keep saying will happen, and then you're like, fast forward to you're 30 and you have a wife and a kid and none of this has happened yet. And you're like, it starts to become a little bit
Makes
of like,
sense.
You're like, this is why I wanted to avoid this.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which is kind of an interesting journey, but yeah, so that was kind of the like grassroots of my kind of how I got into it, and I ended up leading worship at the church I grew up in for a couple of years. It's like that was my first job. Yeah. Which was kind of funny because I'm like 20 and everybody on the worship team's like my dad or older, and I'm telling them when to be at rehearsal and right. how to play their part. And you're like, so that was a good, like, get your feet wet kind of job.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, and that kind of led to, met my wife, did that whole thing, and convinced her that I was a good idea.
Where'd y'all meet?
We met at Florida State.
Okay.
So you guys know Crew, like Campus Crusade, the ministry. So I led worship at like one of their like fall. I don't even think I was leading, actually. I think I was just playing guitar and like singing with the guy that was leading, just helping him out basically. And she was there at the, like, it was like a retreat, like a fall retreat thing at Panama City Beach. Kind of like kick off the school year for the students to kind of just like, so it's like a 3-day, and I think I was leading with a guy there. And like it was kind of one of those moments where like she was like loading in boxes into the place, like setting up. And I was like, oh, let me help you with those boxes. And I like removed a box.
Those look
and saw
heavy.
her face.
Yeah.
And I was like, glad I removed this box. And glad I was nice, you know.
Right.
Like she's got a whole stack.
Yeah. And so like I
covering her.
couldn't see her. And so I was like, oh, let me help you.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh. And I kind of just like flirted the whole weekend, the whole thing. And Nick went, and then I showed up at the next gathering on campus So I was like, I got to ask this girl out. You know, I just went for it. And, yeah, convinced her. So
that's a cool story in one aspect because you agreed to go participate, not even lead.
Yeah.
You agreed to go help lead students in worship.
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool fact, right? Like,
yeah.
by being faithful to the calling that God put in your heart, even when it's like you're not the lead, you're like your willingness to go sing backup, you know, like that's where you got the greatest reward.
Yeah. Oh, and it's kind of funny.
And then helping somebody too.
Yeah. It's like and then fast forward, I agreed to, which is in some ways a lot easier. Yes, when Brandon like asked you to sing backup, but that's what I was doing. I was singing backup for him, and that led to me doing my own thing. So it's like kind of a foreshadow, I guess. In
like
some
never
ways.
be too big for something.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
Not.
Like if you're called to go sing anywhere.
Yeah.
If you're called to whatever, go do it anywhere. Never be, I'm a little, I don't want to go do this. It's not a big enough crowd or whatever. Right. Like I think in terms of like Men's Alliance stuff, where people want us to go do something, it's like we'll go do anything anywhere.
Yeah.
There's no group too small.
Dude, absolutely.
You
I mean,
know?
I think at the end of the day, I think it weeds out people pretty quickly in the sense of like, what are you really doing it for?
Right.
You know, it's like, I think if this is really what I feel called to do, I mean, there's definitely things I have to say no to. There's definitely things that, you know, as you get older and you have family and kids, it's like you obviously have to manage your time well, and you can't just say yes to everything. But when you're 22 and you got nothing to do but lead worship all the time, and like
even with marriage and kids and having to say no to stuff, I feel like we shouldn't say no to something just because, like we should say no because we're too busy.
Yes.
Or we should say no because we have other priorities and commitments in our life.
Absolutely.
But we shouldn't say no because something is like not big enough for us.
Or like not cool enough.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like one thing we tell guys all the time that start tribes in Men's Alliance is like, listen, if one guy shows up at your tribe, that's the guy God brought there.
It's worth it. Yeah.
It's worth it. That's right.
Mm-hmm. So can you come sing for my kid's birthday party?
No.
I have prior commitments.
Yeah. Super busy that day. Sorry, kids. No, I mean, sure.
Just happy birthday, and then you could go.
Oh, well, then I'll just zoom in for that.
Okay.
That'd be awesome.
Cost you a weird amount, but
that'd be awesome. Can you just like at the name part, just kind of make it just generic, so we can just send this around. Everybody's birthday in Men's Alliance gets the same link.
Yeah, to this child.
Hey, Jordan just wanted to send you a personal message here. Please click this link.
We'll just AI the name in.
Man, it looks like the same one I got last year. Oh, that's funny.
So that's kind of how it got started.
Yeah.
Where is it at now?
Well,
tell us what's it like now?
A lot of hills and valleys ever since.
Sure.
You know, obviously. So that was, I met Amanda. We got married the next day. We packed literally at the venue. I think we met at the venue the next morning, packed up some stuff, packed up a U-Haul, and drove to Virginia to take a job. I took a job up at this church in Virginia called Life Point.
Right.
And how I got that job was my roommate at Ocean's Edge was Brandon Lake's best friend. And he, so that's kind of how I knew Brandon, because he went to the school before I did. I didn't meet him at the school down south, Ocean's Edge.
Right.
But his roommate was his best friend was my roommate. So Brandon hit me up on Facebook and was like, hey, I'm at this church called Life Point. We're opening up a new campus. We need another worship leader. Would you be interested in applying? And I was like, yeah, that sounds great. Because I was I was in my hometown at my home church. I just got married. I found this girl. We were engaged. It's like things in my life were just, I think I was just kind of ready to explore what was next. You know what I mean? It was like, I didn't feel like being at my hometown at my home church was going to really push me much farther in my ministry and just growing as a leader. And, so I think it was a little bit of like, I think I kind of hit my ceiling there, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And so I was definitely open for what could be next, but not like rushing anything. And so anyway, he hit me up. I went out there, got the job, and yes, we got married the next day, moved, which is like horrible advice. I mean, like, I wish someone could have just been like, hey, start in January.
Yeah.
Like,
tell them we'll be there later.
Let me come check it out.
Because we got married December 6th, and it's like December at a church is like,
oh man,
all hands on deck.
Yeah,
it's like,
that's the Super Bowl.
Yeah. So you're like, we're like at our honeymoon, and I was so stressed about the job that we left the honeymoon early to get to the job.
Oh gosh.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Which I just wish someone would have just been like, hey dude, we got Christmas, like, just start in January.
Yeah, come in January.
But I mean, it's I don't blame anybody. It's just kind of one of those situations that you're like, man, if I'm ever in a situation where we hire a young couple or a young kid like that, it's like I probably would try to give them a little bit of a runway, So it was a tough way to probably kick off our marriage,
How long have you been married now?
We just celebrated 10 years.
Oh,
wow, so
you made it. You made it past that.
Did we? Yeah.
You made it past that December.
Yeah. And it was shaky, but we made it.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely had our fair share of, are we going to make it? But
how long were you at Life Point?
I was there 7 years. So 6 years full time. And the last year I was there, I started pursuing more of like the songwriting artist thing. And
that's what I was going to ask. Like, when did you transition from I'm cool with being a worship leader? Like, what was the calling? Like being a worship leader and the other stuff has just kind of happened naturally and you're like realizing it, or was it like?
Yeah. So, I mean, it really kicked off when I went to this kind of like the scariest part of our marriage was I had probably a handful of things in my life that I did not check at the door before I walked into the marriage. And a lot of some of them were not my fault. Mm-hmm. Some of them were just things that had happened and that I never talked about, or that grew and manifested into other issues. And, sexual sin to like just hiding, to shame, to lying, to, I mean, you name it. It was just like what a lot of men deal with,
mm-hmm.
And struggle with. And I think a part of me just didn't really know what to do. But you know what I mean? So it was it's not that I didn't want to deal with it. It's I just didn't know how.
Yeah.
And I didn't really feel, I kind of felt like it was too late to deal with it. Does that make sense?
Sometimes I think, and I'm not saying this was your situation, but I know for some people, I've been in seasons where I wanted to deal with stuff, but I literally felt like I couldn't. Like I didn't have the capability. And
Absolutely.
And I think we can only tackle so much at once.
Absolutely.
It's like a bandwidth issue. It's like, I really want to address this. I need to fix this. I need to talk to somebody about this. And then like there's so much on our plate.
Right.
But then something's going to happen in your life. God's going to create something in your life that's going to clear half your plate for you.
Oh yeah.
And you're going to go, okay, this is about to get addressed now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's not because I didn't want to previously.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think I think a lot of people, not just guys, but people would agree that everybody wants to fix, It's exactly what you're saying. I think the enemy does a very, very, very good job of making you feel like you have too much going on, or that, if I just make it to this, if I make it to 25, if I get married, the older I get, the easier this is going to get, or like you just start to think all these things of like, eventually this will kind of just not be a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you realize that that's just not how it works. And
you keep sweeping it under the rug.
Yeah.
Eventually.
And then it's like there's something definitely under the rug.
Yeah.
It's like a huge lump.
Yeah.
And
you can't walk around the house
people are tripping
anymore.
over it.
Right.
It's like it's moving the coffee table.
Yeah.
It's like alive.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like a little dragon under there,
Yeah.
And so, eventually it just, honestly, what happened was the Lord woke me up at 3 o'clock in the morning one night and said, tell her everything. And so I just, everything from like, it's like a blur, but it allowed me to, just face it head on, and take it all on. And, the things that I couldn't control and the things that I could. And so, and of course, all of it's intertwined, once you get under there and start dealing with it. And so I went to this, like, basically like a counseling rehab-ish. It's not like there was people there for all sorts of different things. There was, like, people there for, like pastors who were burnt out. There was people there for actual addiction issues. There were people there for just needing to talk to a counselor every day for a month and just needing to deal with stuff.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of like a wide variety. And it was like 30 days, but they treat everybody the same. So it's like, It's kind of funny because it's like no matter what you're there for, you like get drug tested, it's like you go through the whole gamut. And so it's kind of funny because you're like, this is a little unnecessary for my situation, but like you get it. It's just protocol, but it's like, it was just a little jarring, when you get there, but it was embarrassing and it was humbling, but it was the best decision I ever made. It was like,
wow.
It was, I think people are afraid to be honest because they're afraid of the consequences. And I think the consequences outweigh the healing for in their brain, and like in your mind, you start to think like it's literally better if I just take this to the grave, and I just don't.
Right.
And I think that holds people back.
People don't want to change until the discomfort of the change becomes less than the discomfort of remaining the same.
Yes.
It's like a scale.
Yeah.
And we're like, man, I'm gonna not change for as long as I possibly can. Take this stuff to the grave, never address it. And there's gonna be a certain point where it now is more uncomfortable every single day of my life to try to maintain the secrecy than it would be to just come clean.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's kind of that 3 a.m. moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, where you realize like things are so bad now. I'm I have no peace. I have no joy. I'm suffering so bad now. It'd be far better to just come clean on everything than to continue living this way.
Absolutely.
And when that's actually an incredible moment.
Yeah, it's like
liberating, right?
Yeah, it absolutely is. And the hard part is on the back end of it, the hard part is, you get so much healing done quickly, but the ripple effects is, my wife didn't get 30 days with a counselor.
Yeah.
Your friends, the people that you've maybe that you've brought in this thing with you, to fight this thing with you. And, thankfully, like nothing in my life became like, it never got to a point where it was like catastrophic or it was like, dismantling of my life and my ministry and I praise God, it never got to anywhere remotely close to that. But it was still damaging, like sure. it's still years of ignoring and years of hiding and years of I mean, manipulating, you know, I mean, all the things that you try to do to avoid, and you're avoiding because you don't want to hurt anybody. You know, you're avoiding not because you're afraid of what it's going to do to you. You're just afraid of what it's going to do to people around you. And so that was probably the hardest part, was knowing how much freedom I got, but knowing that you get home and it's a year plus of walking it through with
that's right.
the people around.
Sometimes
you.
we unburden ourselves right onto somebody else. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like, I feel so much better now.
Yeah.
I got that off my chest.
And that's part of marriage. I mean, it's like
and then the person's like, "What am I supposed to do with this?"
Yeah, and thankfully she's. Yeah. I mean, obviously way better than I am, and you know, it's way stronger than I am, and
good wives are awesome.
They rule. Yeah. You know, and like our marriage is awesome. You know, it's like, and I wouldn't say it was necessarily bad before, but you look back and you're like, you know, compared to what it is now, it's like there's just so much honesty and so much freedom in it, and so it's been a journey.
Once you go through that, that rocky road of stuff, once you go through it, the end result is a better relationship than you ever had.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because now you're a different person.
Yeah,
no more of that, you know, secrecy, lies, manipulations, any of that stuff. And then that's why people always say, I wouldn't trade it for anything, right? But like, if you haven't gone through it, when you hear people say that, you're like
that's
what are
crazy.
they talking about?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. But I mean, because it's like, I think the only thing I would trade is maybe just doing it sooner. You know?
Exactly right. Yeah.
You know, I think that's probably the part that you would maybe want to change, but but it's hard to talk about where I'm at now without talking about that. You know what I mean? It's like, because it's such a pivotal, like, because basically at that 30-day counseling place, essentially, it was like, I felt like when I got out, I like wrote a song in there while I was there, which I hadn't written in a while. I feel like it was kind of like, I mean, all the things you're avoiding tend to block whatever kind of creative outlet you want to try to pursue. And, you know, I think there's a correlation between the two. You know, I think when there's a lack of freedom and a lack of connection with the Lord in a way, it's going to be pretty hard to write songs about him, you know.
I think I'm getting what you're saying, and I think I understand it. There's like your creativity as an artist came to life, started flowing more. Mm-hmm. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yes. It's like the last week I was there, I wrote a song, like a worship song, and I was like, oh, well, I haven't written a song by myself in a while. Like, it's like, I haven't, like, that was pretty cool, and it felt good, and it felt free, it felt genuine, and it was just like, man, I really loved that. Like, that felt like something I need to keep doing, you know, because I was writing songs, like, with the church, like, you know, we were putting out albums, and we were doing, so, you know, like, as a worship team, we were writing songs together. But I, you know, always just kind of felt like I couldn't ever do it by myself, or I couldn't ever, like, I was always riding someone else's idea or riding someone else's inspiration, or, and I think a lot of that was correlated to just the blockage that I was shoving down.
I think
and
blockage
down, you know what I mean?
is a great word.
Yeah.
I feel like whatever it is we men turn to block the bad things in our life, right? Like, whatever it is we use to suppress the bad feelings, it's also going to simultaneously suppress the good.
Absolutely.
It's like you can't suppress one in isolation. So it's like when we start doing anything to kind of bottle up everything that's going on in our lives and not talk about it and kind of just screw the cap on tighter and keep working, we're really limiting
absolutely
the amazing gifts that God has given each of us individually. And I'm wondering, like, just hearing you say this, I'm like, I wonder how many men have a song in them
Oh my gosh.
Whether it's music or not, whatever their field is in, they've got a song in them that they don't know about yet because they're not paying any attention to God, and they're suppressing and they're masking and they're self-medicating and they're covering up with all this stuff in life. It's like, man, as you start to take all that crap, push it all aside, start to connect directly with God, it's almost like the floodgates open.
Absolutely.
Of this is what God's been trying to tell me. This is how He's been trying to use me.
And like the song in you is gonna have some scrapes on it, and that's part of it. Like it's the beauty of it, is that it's like, it's not that you get your freedom and your song's this like pure perfect offering. It's like
nobody could relate to them if they were.
Yeah. It's got all the scratches and stuff on it, and but that's what the Lord wants. He wants all of it.
This is a good song.
Good, the bad, the ugly.
This would be a good song. This concept, the song in you. All right, I get writing creds.
I'm dying to ask you something that I've always wondered about. I'm not a singer. I'm not a music guy. But when I go to church and I see the worship band, and knowing like they do this every Sunday, at some churches they're doing it like 4 and 5 times a weekend. How do you balance that tension between it being a job and it being worship? Hey, men. Thrivent is proud to support Men's Alliance's goals, and financial advisor Dr. Andrew Newman, call sign Sage, is excited to help tribe members and those they care about make financial choices guided by their Christian values. Faith is what fuels Andrew. Does it fuel you too? Call Andrew today at 612-246-0725 so you can take care of yourself and those you care about, including your local tribe and Men's Alliance. How's that work for a worship leader?
It's a good question. Well, I think pretending like it's not both is probably a bad idea. I think it is both. It's your job, and it is leading people in worship. And so I think for me, it's like a lot of it is the job leading up to right before I walk out there. I think you do the job, and then when you walk out there, it's now becomes like you've done the work, you've done the job. Now
that makes sense.
Now it's time to lead, and which is still technically, I guess, part of the job. But like the leading part of it is like it's the part that's not really the job in some ways. It's like the leading is not necessarily the hard part. You know what I mean? It's like anything else. It's the dealing with people, and it's the scheduling things, and
the weekday.
Yeah, it's dealing with like the phone calls that are like, "Hey, my marriage is falling apart. Can you talk to me?" Or, "Hey, my son's like walking away from the Lord. Can you talk?" It's like that part is the ministry and the job. But the minute you walk out there, it's like, okay, this is the part where I just kind of let it all go, and I just give everything I have to the Lord and try to bring people along with me.
Man, that makes a ton of sense. It reminds me, I have an old friend who was like a world-class marathon runner and triathlete, and he always said the day of the marathon or the day of the race, he goes, that's just the celebration of all the training you've done.
Absolutely.
And I can see like put myself in the position of a worship leader, like the walking out on stage on the Sunday morning, that's like, now I'm going to celebrate all the work I've done through the week. This is where all that kind of, if you view that part as the work. But I think it's very important what you said. The worst thing you could do is pretend that you're not doing both. Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense too. I can see a lot of people who are in ministry, in any form of full-time ministry, having the same balance difficulty between like, this is my ministry for God, but also I need to pay the bills.
Absolutely.
Right? And I think it's okay to say, it's both.
It is both, and it's just life. You know what I mean? It's like you got to have a job. You got to be able to put food on the table, and and there's aspects of it that are very job-like and admin and different things. But when it comes to like getting up on the platform and leading people, I kind of lead the same way how I've always led. It's like I've always kind of been one that, like, whether there's 10 people or thousands of people, I'm just gonna send it. I'm gonna try to give everything I got, and I don't think that part of me will really change. I think I've just always been that way, so I try to do that every week, or every week I'm on, or whatever. So.
I heard someone say just recently about he was talking about worship and how like people have asked him, like, how do you make sure you're not faking it, or like when you're up there, like what if you're just not feeling it, and you still have to worship. And he was like, good actors don't really act. He's like, I took a acting class and I was supposed to be sad, so I tried to deliver the lines as if I was sad. And his coach said, think of something that makes you actually sad and now do the scene. And it's the same way with worship. Like if you're singing a song about gratefulness, take some time before you go up there and actually become grateful for everything God's given you, and then sing the song. So it's coming from a real place.
Definitely like
that's good.
It's definitely non-human to think that like there's never been a Sunday that I haven't been like just not wanting to be up there. Right. You know what I mean? Or tired, or but I don't know, or uses your weakness.
That's exactly right. Like, you think about, well, what's the alternative? Yeah. Am I gonna not do it when I don't feel it?
There? Yeah,
it's right. It's like when you say that, you're like, of course, And I think there's also beauty in that.
Absolutely,
there's beauty in the fact that I'm not feeling it today, God, but I'm going to do this for you.
Yeah,
right. We're obviously not called to do our ministry only when we feel it.
Right.
But that's going to require us to do ministry when we don't feel it.
That's right. Right. Yeah.
Which is going to require, and I think the way you prevent anything toxic from settling in there is by just saying it out loud to people.
Right.
It's okay to be like, hey, I'm having a rough day.
Yeah.
I'm going through it, but just between you and me, man, I'm having a rough day.
Or you're in the green room with the team and you're like, hey, it's like,
that's right.
I'm having a tough one today, or I'm not feeling it. I'm really tired. I'm dragging. Like I don't know if I got it. Really need you guys to lift me up a little bit here, or like get a little extra boost for me, and there's, I don't think I guess people would some people think maybe that's not the best leadership tactic or something, but I don't know.
I think it is.
I think it's the
human.
Best.
Yeah.
And if you look at our motto right over your right shoulder, tribal, rugged, real, that's the...
Oh, this one?
On the plaque there.
Oh, yeah.
That's the real part.
Yeah.
And that's hugely what we're about in Men's Alliance, is if you're having a bad day, that's fine. Just don't pretend you're not.
Yeah, totally.
Right? Just kind of lay your cards on the table.
Yeah.
And usually...
And I don't need the whole congregation to know. I think that's
a great point. You're doing this in the green room.
That's probably bad leadership
with your your team, right?
Yeah,
with your tribe.
You're telling your team, because it's like,
that's right.
You come to me when you're not okay, and granted they don't necessarily need to know everything of why you're feeling this way, but it's okay for them to know that, like, hey, I need a little pick me up today.
That's a great point, right? So I've got my band of brothers that I tell everything about. Yeah. But that doesn't mean I come in here and say it all on a podcast.
Yeah.
Right. The whole world doesn't need to know.
Yeah. Jesus had 12 and he had 3.
But also, it's a mistake to...
Yeah.
So we can err, I guess what we're saying here, we can err either direction. You can tell too many people, or you can tell not enough people, which not enough people is just 0.
Yeah.
Right. So we've got to have our band of brothers, our 3 and our 12.
Absolutely.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. I want to ask you, tell us about that song that we started. We were listening to a song. Tell us how you wrote that. What's going on there?
Yeah. So I guess to keep a little bit in line with the story, fast forward to It was January of last year. And we talked a little bit about this last night.
Yeah.
It was January of last year, so I guess a little over a year ago. It was kind of one of those, I have been pursuing songwriting, artistry, worship leading, and you kind of have one of those, okay, like as much as I love to pursue this and I love to write songs and I love to, pursue what I feel like the Lord's called me to do, I still have the responsibility of reality checking and like stepping back and saying, okay, let's pause. Is this where you still have me? Is this really where, should I keep putting my energy towards this? Mm-hmm. It's not that I don't feel like I'm chasing something that's like unhealthy or I'm chasing it in an unhealthy way. It's just, okay, I'm married. I have a kid. We want to have another kid. I'm 31 at the time. It's like, I'm definitely not 22 anymore. I'm still young, but I'm like, okay, let's take a step back. Will I always write songs? Will I always lead worship? Absolutely. But should I be pursuing it at the capacity that I was? And so it was kind of a moment with the Lord that was like, hey, like I can hold in one hand all the prophetic words, all the encouragement, all the people that I look up to that have spoken this and that over my life. And I know that the gifts you put in me and all these things, I know they're all from you. Mm-hmm. I can hold all that in one hand and know that all that is true. While holding in the other hand, you don't owe me anything. Mm-hmm. And so I'm okay if this is not what you have for me anymore. And I just kind of left it in his hands and was like, I can hold both and I can keep going, and I can be okay. But if this is what you have for me, it's got to look a little different than it did when I was younger. Right. Like I can't be gone and making $200 for being gone for 4 days.
Right.
It's not going to work anymore. You know what I mean? Like those days you just have to reevaluate, Mm-hmm. And like a week later, Brandon Lake called and was like, hey, I need help. Background vocals with the tour, blah, blah. Would you be interested in jumping on? And I was like, yeah, sure. Like, it sounds great. Sounds like a lot of fun. I still am not thinking at the time like, oh, this is my next open door. This is my next opportunity to keep going. I just was like, okay, cool. Like, this could be a lot of fun. And I was on a run and I had this idea for a chorus and I stopped and I'm super out of breath and I'm like singing what the chorus is that the song we listened to is called Can't Help But Praise. And I kind of like had this chorus and I brought it to a couple guys and we wrote it and finished it. And it's cool because the tour started as, me jumping on, helping Brandon, and I just kind of went into it like, I remember on the way to rehearsals praying, like, okay, what's my role in all this? Like, Lord, just show where I can fill a need. Ultimately, it's like, this isn't my thing. I'm here to serve him and serve the ministry you've put on his life. So where do I fit in? Like, the band's already amazing. It's not like I'm like good enough to like, I'm absolutely the weakest link in his band. I mean, it's like, I play tambourine on a song, you know what I mean? So we're talking like, but I just kind of felt like, okay, there's obviously something that I bring that maybe these nights are missing or that I can fill a void. And it kind of just turned into me being like a second worship leader. It was like, I just kind of treated it like, if I wasn't leading the song, what would I want a co-worship leader to be doing?
Now that is a huge question.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's a great way to think.
Mm-hmm. It was just like, I wanted to serve the moment. Like I kind of always have, like what you always do with a Sunday morning, but obviously it's a lot of a bigger scale, with his shows and stuff.
Tell us what give our listener like what's the scale?
So it's like arenas. So it's 8 to 12,000 people every night. It's
for how when you say every night.
So it's Thursday to Sunday is how you do the tour. So it's
how long does that last? How long does a tour last?
We did one in the spring, one in the fall.
Okay.
And I think the spring was 20 shows, and the fall was, I want to say 12 or 15. I can't remember.
Man.
So it was it's a lot. It's so you're basically you fly in Wednesday night and get on the bus, sleep on the bus, and then first show is Thursday. And then you bus from Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, wake up Monday morning, fly home for a couple of days.
Every one of those days is at a different location?
Yeah.
So you sleeping on the bus.
So sometimes the bus rides are
wake up in a different city.
Yeah, sometimes the bus rides are 4 hours, sometimes they're 8, just depending on how far you're going. So and they have it all mapped out to where it's obviously like logistically.
Do you ever get on stage and be like, what city am I in now?
Oh, it's disorienting.
No, what city am I in right now?
Oh, it's
the time zone.
So I texted some buddies because I'd never done a proper tour like this before. So I texted some buddies that like one of my buddies plays guitar for Cody and Carrie Carnes, and I was like, give me some some tips on just how to. I mean, it's like little things of how to pack your bag and what to bring, what not to bring, little things you don't think about. And he was giving me. He's like, I tell you, every morning you get off that bus, it's disorienting. You're in a side street of a building that you've never been to, or you're it's just very there's little arrows on the ground pointing you where to walk because it's nobody, you don't know where you are, it is a new place every morning, and you're just it's very bizarre, and it's
that's a good word. That sounds bizarre.
It is bizarre, and it is as cool and rock and roll and glamorous as it can be. It's also really hard on your body. It's
I was gonna say, it seems like you just be groggy all the time.
Yeah, and you think you're always of course. It's funny, the first night on the bus, I'd never slept on a bus before, and the first night you're still shocked how much it feels like you're on a bus driving down the road. Yeah. It's like potholes, you feel them. Bumps, you feel them.
So when you sleep on a bus, I'm just curious. Is there a bed? Are you horizontal at least?
Yes.
Or you're not in a seat. You're not in a Greyhound bus.
No,
leaning up against the window.
No, there's
got a bed.
Bunks. Yeah,
okay, there's bunks.
So and they're nice. They're
this sounds a lot like a really long flight on a reconnaissance plane.
Yeah.
You get up and you can trade your shift.
Yeah.
In the cockpit, and you can go lay down in a bunk for 4 hours, and you come back and you get back in the cockpit, and you're like, okay, where are we?
Yeah.
Have we taken on gas again yet? Oh, we just finished? Okay. All right. I got the seat.
It's also your days are totally flipped.
Right.
So we go on at 8 o'clock or 7:50-ish. So you need to peak energy wise when you're usually winding down to go to bed.
Yeah.
So it's just your whole thing is backwards. So trying to fall asleep, that's why they're always oh, you guys just stay up late. I'm you don't have a choice. It's you're playing in front of all these, leading worship with all these people, and then you're jumping off, showering, getting back on the bus. You're just going to immediately fall asleep.
Right.
It's
you got
your adrenaline's up. You slept in because you're up late. So it's your whole day is backwards. It's pretty impossible.
This is like flying.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty impossible to fall asleep before 1 a.m.
Right.
It's because you play for, his show's pretty long. It's 2.5-ish hours. So it's it's, so what was cool is between the spring and the fall tour is when conversations started happening with me being the first artist that Brandon signs.
Right.
So I went from I
wanted to get
that moment in my bedroom in January to about a month and a half later, I was on all these arena shows with him, and then to a month after that, signing with him, to then in the fall, I was doing my own set in the middle of his set.
Right.
No, for us non-music guys, what does that mean, signing with him?
So he's always had this dream of like, you know, he kind of expressed it to me, like he felt like he was at a place in his career where he could start helping. You know, it's like in the beginning of a career, it's like pretty fast paced and it's kind of grindy, and there's just a lot going on, and you're like building this ministry that you're building. He kind of just felt like he's at a place now where it's like he has brain power and headspace, and he's always been someone to kind of just believe in the next guy that he can invest in. Awesome. And so he felt like it was just the timing of it all kind of lined up with me being a part of the band, me still feeling like the Lord had more for me in this space. And we just kind of talked a lot on the tour of like, he was like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I mean, in a perfect world, I want my own band one day. You know, I want to do what you're doing, maybe. Yeah. And not necessarily on that scale. You know, it's like I'm not like I'm still a realist. You know, it's like, but I still feel like the Lord has more for me in this space, and he was like, let's pursue that together. You know, and so he. Through like a bunch of conversations and stuff, we partnered with another label called Another Land. So it's basically like Another Land's like the behind the scenes, working the like, you know, ins and outs of like funding and you know, social media planning and, you know, website and kind of like the logistics of having a record label and like an artist. Mm-hmm. And then Lake House is kind of like the forward-facing, creative mixed with like song choice and kind of like the visionary for like the trajectory they want me to be on. If that makes sense. Yep. So it's kind of like a partnership with Another Land, because basically Lake House is so new, they need some sort of like infrastructure to help, you know, get the thing rolling. So. So I'm signed with Lake House, but Lake House also has a deal with Another Land. So it's kind of like a trio, you know, between the three of us. I hope that makes sense for people.
Got it. Yeah.
It's a very confusing world. It's not worth diving into all the logistics of it, but so I work directly with Brandon a lot. Obviously with like every song I write, I send to him and he gives me feedback, or he, you know, helps me tweak things, or and there's a guy on staff that I work with day to day and stuff. So and so I played 2 songs in the middle of his set with his band. Okay. And that's what that video was. Yeah. So that was the.
So what does this next step look like for you?
The goal is to I'm going to do like a live recording. So like I'm going to do like a full album, hopefully in August, September range. But yeah, I mean, my heart is obviously for the church, and my heart is for, you know, writing songs for the church. But I also have songs that I feel like are ones that they're still obviously worshipful and Christian centered, but they're more like, you know, artisty, singer-songwriter songs that I think still could be very impactful for a listener, but not necessarily a song you'd play in church.
Just sing along to.
Yeah, so it would be an album that's a mix of both. It would be, you know, your songs for your church, and then also songs that when you're in your prayer closet and you want to put one on, you know what I mean? So I like writing both, and I think it's okay to write both, you know?
Sure.
So that's kind of the vision and the goal. So
when you write a song, when you want to write a song, what do you do? Where do you go? How do you get that creativity going? Do you have some sort of like space or routine?
Yeah.
Or it's like, okay, I got to go into creative writing mode. How do you do this?
Yeah, I mean, it's the best way to describe it is songwriting is absolutely a muscle. I mean, it's you have to work it, and I think yes, people are born with gifts for it, and people are born with a gift to sing or a gift for melody or a gift with lyrics, but every single one of those people will say you can't just live off that. It's like anything else. It's like, yeah, the Lord put a gift in me maybe, but like I have to dig for it.
Like you got to sit down and focus and spend time like a writer.
Yeah.
Like they're writing a book. They got to spend X number of hours every day at the computer,
and
whether they crank out a paragraph or a chapter.
And it's a grind. I mean, it is, songwriting weeds people out quickly. Mm-hmm. If you're in it for the wrong thing, if you're in it because you want to make money, if you're in it because it's cool, if you're in it for surface reasons, you're not going to last. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be something you do for a long time. I have seen it time and time again.
Mm-hmm. What does a bad day of songwriting look like?
Spending hours and hours on one section and still feeling like you haven't gotten it. But that's not necessarily a bad day. It's like you're still chiseling away. It's like it's hard to say a
maturity
bad
has
day.
taught you that that's not a bad day.
Yeah.
That is just you've learned to factor in the part that's a part of the process.
Yeah. And like the psychopath in me loves it. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like I've always been kind of like I love to work hard and I love to like I've done like I like pushing myself. Like I've done like triathlons and Ironmans and different things that have that people would say that's insane of you to do, but I'm just always been wired that way of like I don't like it being easy. It's like, and there's days that it's easy and it's nice, don't get me wrong, like when like a chorus comes or when it's like a song just kind of falls in your lap, it's like those are awesome. But that's so few and far between. It's like a normal day looks like you just chiseling away, and but it's insanely rewarding when you get up there and you see people connecting with it. And like on the tour, it's like that song we watched, it's like they'd never heard that song before,
right? And
it's like I played the chorus one time and then we jumped into the song,
and on the video it looked like they had the lyrics.
Yeah,
the lyrics being put up there for them. So everybody's singing with like, you as you sing this song
shocking.
You wrote.
Yeah. And it was, it's that those moments are the ones that you're just like, wow, this is worth all the chiseling, like, and on top of that, it's like, it makes you realize it's so much bigger than your cool idea.
That is a great moment.
Yeah.
We've definitely experienced that in Men's Alliance.
Yeah.
Where you look around and you go, oh my gosh, this thing took off so much bigger than us.
Yeah.
And then you're just kind of stepping back like, this is the closest I can come to relating to being
great.
a singer.
Yeah.
Where you're standing there and you're looking around at like all these men doing this thing and you're like, this is just cool to be incredible. A part of what God's doing.
Yeah, and it's like you obviously put in the time and the work, and you to build this ministry you guys are doing, and it's not that work is like void because the Lord's breathing on it. It's the partnership.
It is. It's a partnership. Yeah, God's looking for people
so cool
that are willing to be used.
It's like, man, why? It's like so rad that he invites us in on it.
It is.
Like it's
God's looking for people that are going to say, "Here I am."
Yeah.
Whatever you can make of this random hodgepodge of skills and liabilities that I bring, here you go.
Yeah.
And then he'll take it and he'll use it.
Yeah, and it's like as much as there's like a lot more people on that kind of platform, like thousands of 10,000 people that you're singing your song in front of they'd never heard in their life, which is a whole other part of intimidating. It's like, well, I hope this goes well.
Right.
There's a lot of people watching.
That's the ultimate
if it
test,
doesn't.
if the song is good or not.
And I think that those are the moments that you're like, okay, well, what was I doing when I was 22? I was just getting up there and going for it. It's like that part doesn't change. It's like I'm still going to go up there and just try to lead.
Yeah.
Whether it's 10 of us or whether there's 10,000 of us. It's like
that's important. That's staying grounded.
Yeah.
You know, of realizing this is bigger than this tour. Like this is a thing between you and God.
Yeah.
Right. And He's given this to you, and you have that that mindset of I'm going to use it for Him.
Yeah.
And if He wants to put me in front of 10,000 people or 10 people, that's his choice.
Yeah.
I'm just going to try to stay faithful.
That's his business.
It's hard. Yeah.
It's my business.
That's my business.
And it's hard not to like, you know, what we were watching that video. It's hard not to think of like, you know, the whole story. You know, it's like not just, sorry. I guess it's easy for people to see like me up there, and it's like, man, that's a cool life. Like that's must be nice, you know. Or I get those comments or people saying stuff like that, and it's like that's a culmination of a lot, you know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They're only seeing that part, not everything it took to get there.
Only you and your wife really know the whole story behind any one of those moments.
Yeah, it's powerful. Like I'm grateful that it's at the time you're like, you know, like, Lord, what are you doing? But now it's like if all this was happening when I was 22, I probably wouldn't last very long. But now I feel like I can build something that's going to be impactful for my kids and, you know, kids or whatever. You know, it's something that can last a long time, which is what you hope for, you know.
Yeah.
All this talk about
this is what we do
songwriting.
On this podcast. That's super real.
It's just got me thinking. I'm sitting here thinking so much about Psalms, just the book of Psalms, and how it's just all these songs and how descriptive it is. It's like some of them, you know, it says like this song was written to, and it lists the instruments. You know, this song is for the lyre and the tambourine and the harp, and you're like, okay, man, this is straight up a song. We're not just calling it a song. This was a song. You know, some of it
nothing
says like
about it was quiet either.
Right.
People complain about the volume and the but you read all that, it's like
that's a great point.
There's nothing about it that was quiet.
It says that David danced before the Lord with all of his might, which has always like just blown my mind.
I love that.
I'm like,
you're going to see what that's like.
You don't often see a person dance with all of their might in this culture. You're like, what?
Yeah.
It's like there's a few people I don't want to see dance with all their might.
You don't want to see me dance.
Yeah.
With any might. You know, and so there's this whole thing I love about the Psalms of a lot of the Psalms are David angry at God. And we talked a lot on here about like how thankful I am that those are included.
Right.
Like they didn't edit those out. It's like we get clear vision and permission for being angry with God. Right. Like God's like, I can handle it. I want to hear from you. You're not gonna break me. You're not gonna hurt me. And you think about that as a parent, it becomes clear, right? It's very obvious when you think, oh yeah, you want to hear from your kids.
Oh yeah.
Even when they're mad. Even when they're angry, you're like, well, tell me what's wrong. If you're mad, let's talk about it, right? And I see God dealing with us that way. So have you ever written or thought about writing anything that's like angry at God or questioning or confused?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think for me at least it's like my way of journaling. You know, it's like there's certain songs that maybe might not make an album, but it's like I got to get them out. You know, I got to find a way to. It's my way of like, you know, understanding or asking questions or, you know, I was working on a song that I posted the other day about. I heard this pastor talk about like generational sin, generational curse, and like he essentially was like if you need more motivation, like as a parent, to like fight the things that you struggle with and you deal with. He's like, you can either pass it down or you can pass down blessing. And it's like, if you need more motivation to like deal with the things in your life,
that's good.
This is it. Because, and so like one of the lyrics in the song that I wrote was like, you know, I'm 33, still slaying dragons from when I was a teen. If I don't win this, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, you know? And it's just this idea of like, this is really important, you know, but it's, so like there's songs like that.
I don't want to pass this battle down to my kids.
Yeah, it's like,
I want to win it.
It's going to end with me, you know? It's like, it's like, it might, like one of the lyrics was like, it might not have started with me, but it's where it finds defeat.
Oh, that's, you know? So good.
It's like,
man,
I just want to, everything that I've avoided and took a long time to fight, it's like, that's the last thing I want to do, you know, is pass that down, you know. So like you talk about, like, it's like everything I pray for is like, I just want my kids to always feel like they can talk to me, you know, and like they can always come to me, whether it's like the worst decision they made or the best.
That's right.
You know, it's like,
that's what we want as parents.
Just please
tell us the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah. So it's, you should write about all of it, you know.
Man.
So
that's awesome.
Where can people go to hear Jordan Colle?
Yeah, I mean, obviously all streaming platforms, whatever you listen to, it's all on there. It's just Jordan Colle on all those, and then Instagram's at Jordan Colle. Then you can find all the TikTok and all that stuff if you want.
Where are you going to be playing next live for people that want to go hear you?
Yeah, so I mean, like the big thing for me right now is I'm just working on the album. So with it being my first album, I'm not doing like a ton of I'm not doing like a tour or anything because you don't really tour until you have an album. So, but I'm doing summer worship nights cruise.
Cool.
Which will be fun.
With
like Brandon and Phil and all those guys.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I'll be doing a little bit of that.
Going on a cruise ship.
Yeah.
In the lap of luxury.
Yeah.
And getting to,
it'll be interesting.
That'll be awesome. Well, for everybody else. Yeah. For everybody paying, it'll be
big bus with a lot of fans.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
that's awesome.
Yeah. So I don't know how much Brandon will be able to leave his room, but
yeah, right.
Yeah. But,
so that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, so that'll be cool. And then I think in the fall, it's just up in the air. We'll see. But I'm doing, I'm available for one-off things and stuff. So if people want to reach out, they absolutely can. So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Men's Alliance wants to get you to sing.
Let's do it.
At
every birthday party.
At birthday parties and let's see, kids' birthday parties.
Yeah. That's like my bread and butter. Yeah. It's kids' birthdays.
We want to get you to sing at our national rally at least in 2026.
Let's do it.
So if we plan that far ahead, we can probably
I'd love to.
Get you out there and lead us in worship.
I'd love to.
And also just join us in some tire flipping and
I'd love
sledgehammer
to.
swinging.
Yeah,
and we'll have
you can tell by my physique. I'm obviously can flip a few tires.
You can tell by ours. We've eaten a few tires. We're carrying around spare tires. That's how we train. It's part of the weighted vest routine that I'm in.
I get it.
So we'll be able to see a bunch of men dance with all their might.
Oh my gosh, dude! One day, one day I'm going to be able to dance. It's going to be incredible.
Because I actually helped discover Jordan.
Did you?
Because I saw him. Well, I like to think so.
Yeah, you were the first A&R in my life.
The first what?
A&R, except whatever.
Don't be talking shop. Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's just weird because I always tell him this. It was I saw him when I was visiting in 2020 at the church he used to worship at. Lead worship, but he was like, we were doing a live stream connection, the church was like, all right, we're going to sync up with our main campus, and he was leading worship. I remember speaking to Nadine, I was like, that dude's good, he's going to be going places, like if he's not already. And
talent scout.
And then
there you go.
Then like the next year he came to the chapel, and I was like, that's the dude I saw on video. And we led worship a couple times, and now we're hanging out. The podcast is just weird,
Yeah,
that's very cool.
I'll always be a fanboy.
Yeah. I'm a fanboy, you guys. So I love it.
Well, thanks, man.
Yeah.
Well,
thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks. Awesome. Thanks for sharing your story.
Yeah.
There's a lot of power when we share our stories, and men are going to hear this and they're going to be encouraged and they're going to be sharpened, right? And one of the things you've done here today is you've gone through some stuff, and then you've been able to turn around and shine a spotlight onto it. And there's men that are going through it right now that this is going to help tremendously.
Don't be afraid of the consequences. Just take it on. It's worth it, So.
Hey, let me ask you a closing question. What's your favorite song to sing? Like, it's nobody's around. There's no ticket sales. You're in the shower. What are you singing?
Wow, that's a great question.
Probably too many to pick one.
I can't help but praise.
Like worship song or just any song?
Any song.
Let's do any song. It's not limited.
This is so weird, but
I know this is going to be good.
This is going to be awesome.
You know what song I sing year round? This is I don't know if this is a
Christmas song.
It is a Christmas song.
Yeah.
I sing that the weather outside is bright. I sing that year round.
Really?
I don't know why, but it pops in my head once every
2 weeks. Let it snow, let it snow.
Yeah. And I usually sing it in like a ridiculous voice to make, everybody just loud and obnoxious, but it pops in my, I don't know, something about that melody is like just drilled in my brain.
It's catchy.
It's very annoying though, because I try
I'm going to be singing it all day.
I try to change the lyrics for like the season we're in, but it just doesn't fit as good.
Oh, the weather outside is weather.
It is hot.
Hot and sunny.
Yeah. So there it is. I guess that's
it is. Let it snow, man. All right.
That's it.
Let it snow.
All right. That's what we're calling the episode. Let it snow, Jordan.
Let it snow.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate
you guys. It's awesome.
To find out more about what we're doing and to join us on our mission, go to men'salliancetribe.com. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and give us a 5-star review.